Welcome to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Just Josh and Blake here with you in the studio this morning, coming to you with a very special episode. Should I just spoil it right off the rip?
Do it. Spoil it. It's going to be on the cover
It'll be
anyway.
If you clicked on this, you probably know what's going on. We're interviewing Joe freaking Thomas here in just a couple minutes, so don't go anywhere. The Hall of Famer on the Dawgs Podcast. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm a little bit ecstatic.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
It's a big deal.
So we're super pumped to have Joe with us today. But before we get to him, remember, if you want to get your thoughts and your intros on the show, head to thedawgspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the new content that we're putting out, like interviewing Joe freaking Thomas. If you follow us or if you want to find us on any of the social media platforms, just search at the Dawgs Podcast. You can also just listen to the show at Apple, Spotify, and Google. Lastly, if you're looking for more Dawgs content, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dogpack member on the Patreon page, get access to the private Discord, play fantasy football with us, which we're going to be starting signups for those
June 1st.
Don't wait, guys. I know it seems like we're far away from that kind of thing, but when we have 5, 6, 7 leagues, there's already talk about in the Dogpack right now about starting up a third dynasty league this year. Whenever you have that many leagues that you got to coordinate from no lie across the globe, trying to get everybody's dates and times and all that stuff, you got to have time to prepare. So don't wait. Make sure you get in there. We have to have a cutoff at some point, and you don't want to be the 51st guy and you didn't get into one of the leagues because you waited too long. So June 1st, that sign up is going to go out. You're going to be able to head to jointhedawgs.com, become a Dogpack member, jump into that Discord, talk to everybody, and get signed up for a fantasy football league. Winners get championship t-shirts. The dynasty leagues have cash prizes. So it's a good time for everybody involved. And there's tons of Browns fans from all over the earth in there. And it's just a good time. Everybody is awesome. Like we do things for each other. Like we help raise money. We have other people in there who have like charity foundations. We always help each other raise money. Like it's just a really tight knit community. So you guys want to be a part of that. It's jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dogpack member.
Yeah. And before we jump over and get started with Joe Thomas, we just want to shout out Big Game Travel. They are the industry leader in international fan travel. You guys don't understand why we're talking about that here in a second, but Big Game Travel heading back to London for the Browns versus Vikings on October 5th, and they want you to go along to cheer on the Cleveland Browns. They've hosted this iconic trip for the past 10 years, and it just keeps getting better. Get ready to see London in all its glory. Plus, obviously, you get to catch the Browns in London, along with happy hour events, pep rallies, tailgate parties. It's going to be a fun time. They've put together their Cleveland Takes London 2025 travel packages. They're now available to book on biggametravel.com. So head over there, check out the packages that they've got put together for you guys. And this year's special guest host, as you've probably guessed, for this trip that's going to be going along with you guys if you sign up, will be Browns Hall of Fame left tackle Joe Thomas. All right, like we mentioned, we are super pumped to have Hall of Fame left tackle Joe Thomas with us on the episode today. Joe, how's it going?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, absolutely. Thanks for being here. And, we really want to talk first with you about this trip to London. So the packages that Big Game Travel has out there for everybody to go look at and purchase, they advertise this stuff. It's both upscale and all-inclusive. People just sign up, and Big Game Travel really just takes care of the rest. It includes their travel, the tours in London, and then, of course, the full game day experience for the Browns game in London against the Vikings, and that includes time with you.
Absolutely. I can't wait. I'm super pumped because I'm going to be bringing myself, my wife. I hope she can make it, maybe a couple of my kids, because it really is going to be that once-in-a-lifetime experience that everybody's kind of looking for right now. Everybody's got enough toys and gadgets and doohickeys, but it's those experiences that I think are what stay with you for years and years. And so that's why I'm really excited about being able to go over there to host an amazing trip with Big Game Travel, to bring my family with, to be able to enjoy the Browns being overseas. And the last time the Browns played in London actually was the game after I tore my tricep. And so I wasn't able to play there. I wasn't able to experience the awesomeness that is the sea of orange and brown that goes overseas and travels and watches Cleveland Browns games. So I'm really excited to just kind of reintroduce Europe to all of Cleveland Browns Nation, and show the passion and the loyalty and the pride, and maybe convert a few Londoners, a few people from Europe to being huge Cleveland Browns fans.
Yeah, I think 2017, right, was the last time the Browns were over there. They played the Vikings, and I guess it doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
Time flies when you're losing lots of games. No, just joking.
But, as far as the trip goes, obviously everybody gets to go over there. They get to do the tours of London and spend time over there. And, it's a nice trip for everybody to go sightsee, but then it's the game day experience, there's a pep rally, there's an all-day tailgate, I think, for the Browns game. And those are like exclusive parties where it's just the people that book with Big Game Travel, and that gets them access to hang out with you, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm going to be all part of that trip. We try to keep the groups a little smaller so that I get an opportunity to kind of meet everybody, but not just meet everybody, but kind of spend some really good time with them. And so that at the end of the trip, we walk away saying, hey, we're friends. We're not just acquaintances. We did this amazing experience over in London. We got to watch the Browns go curb stomp somebody that we're going to hear about very soon. And do it all together. And so I can't wait. I was over in Germany last year living with my family, and we actually went to London a couple times because it's outside of the Browns playing there. Like, London is a really, really super awesome city with so much to do, so much to see, some incredible food scenes. And I think you guys would be surprised. When I was just wandering the streets of London with Paul Brown, one of my last trips when I was over in London, not for a football game or anything, we were just hanging out. It was amazing the number of Browns fans from the UK that just came up to us and wanted to have a shot with us, do a Guinness Chug challenge, and just talk about the Browns. So I think people that go over there with us on this trip are going to really be surprised with how many UK Browns backers there really is.
Yeah, I mean, I see stuff on Twitter all the time from the Browns backers over there. There's other people from London, Browns fans and everything. And then plus we've got Browns fans in our Patreon group from over there. So I know there's a lot of people looking forward to going to that game and everything. But I guess the big deal for Big Game Travel here is there's really no other parties during that weekend that are hosted exclusively for fans for these international games. So Big Game Travel puts on this big party and everything for that weekend. I mean, if you guys want exclusive time with Joe Thomas to hang out, get to know him, plus go to the Browns game in London, like, this is a trip you really don't want to miss.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Like you said, we got all sorts of parties. Big Game Travel, they really blow it out. They're a first-class organization. They're setting up the best of the best, and this is what they do. This is all they do. It's not like a couple dudes getting together saying, hey, let's throw a big trip to London and hire myself to come with. This is all they do. So they've curated this trip for many fan bases. So they know exactly the places to go to. They know exactly the environment that they need to create when I'm around, and when we can celebrate, from a tailgate to maybe the post-game party, pre-game parties. So it's definitely going to be that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for those Browns fans that sign up at Big Game Travel.
Man, that sounds awesome. I know they said, they've been doing this for the last decade, 10 years, doing these trips exclusively, taking fans overseas to go to these games. So check them out. It's biggametravel.com. Head over there, see what the packages are like, and really just, if you've ever wanted to go to London, you want to make that trip, and you're a huge Browns fan, you want to take the trip with other Browns fans and Joe Thomas, man, this is the opportunity you can't pass up.
It's a long flight, so why not take it with 50 other inebriated Browns fans? Right. You know what I mean? Enjoy yourself on the flight. So we talked about the Big Game Travel, going to the game. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to see on the field this year. And I don't think there's any better place to start than is the left tackle position. I think you're an expert on that. So right now, Dawand Jones currently slotted to slide into that full-time left tackle role. What do you see from Dawand Jones that makes you think he's ready to make that full-time switch? And just the 3 games he started last year, did you see anything like to give you confidence that, okay, I feel good about the left tackle position this year?
Well, it's never been performance or athleticism that's held Dawand back, right? It's been the injuries that he's sustained. And so I think that's really the big question mark for him moving forward. But I've got an opportunity the last couple seasons to develop a little bit of a relationship with him, and he's super motivated. He wants to come in great shape, because I think being in great shape is really important to staying healthy, right? Being on top of your body and knowing your body inside and out and understanding like, hey, this little soreness that I got, this little tight hamstring here, I need to take care of that right now before it trickles into something else. And I think he's understanding that. And he is so motivated to take over that left tackle position. He was a basketball player growing up. That was kind of his first love. And so he's got all the talent and athleticism that you could possibly want. Obviously, he's a mountain of a man. You know, he's like 7'5", 480 pounds, and he dances around like a ballerina. So he's exactly the type of player that you want at left tackle. He's super smart. He's super driven and motivated. And so I'm hoping that he's built that routine to make sure that his body can be that finely tuned Lamborghini that there's no way he would ever fit into, that he can be then for the Browns this season to hold that left tackle spot for 17 games plus some playoff games.
Yeah, I figure, and I'm sure this applies to all positions, but, you know, offensive line specifically, transitioning from college to the NFL, there's so many things that are way different in the NFL than college. And I'm sure there's things like you mentioned in college you can kind of get away with little tweaks and things there that you just can't in the NFL because of the rigors of the game. Is that kind of accurate?
Yeah, I mean, when I played in college my senior year, I think I played 2 players in that season that actually played in the NFL. One was from Bowling Green and actually one was from Michigan. And those are the only 2 games where I really feel like I had to be just on my spot. I had to be just perfect on my best game to be able to handle those guys. And in the NFL, that's just not the case. It's every single week. It's every single rep. You know, in college, you got one guy first, second, and third down typically. I mean, they might bring in a specialized pass rusher, or you might get a spinner who's like that in-between linebacker, outside linebacker, defensive end type who's going to rush on you. But in the NFL, like you got a first and second down D end, and then a lot of times on third down, they're trotting the guy off the sideline who's been drinking water, who's been resting up all day, he's been watching everything you did, and he's going to give you one all-out pass rush move. And so you got to really be a jack of all trades to play tackle in the NFL, because they're going to do whatever you don't do very well, and they're going to put that guy on top of you. Whether you can't handle the speed rush, they're going to put a skinny guy on you. If you're not sound and you're not able to anchor against the bull rush, they're going to put a big dude against you. So you've got to really be able to handle all shapes and sizes that they're going to line up against you.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I kind of want to talk for a minute. He's transitioning from right tackle to left tackle, and we heard a lot about that when we drafted Jed, switching from right to left. Is that overblown by fans, or is that like a real thing? Like, how much of a stark difference is there between playing on the right or the left side?
I think sometimes it depends on your experience at that position. Like, how much time have you played left and right? Like for me, I played nothing but left tackle my entire life. So the switch to right would have been really tough. But I still think even if you're a guy that hasn't had experience on the other side, if you give me 3 months of practice, of training, I think that's about the right amount of time to be able to make that switch. For guard, it's a lot easier because you don't have quite as big of a stagger in your stance. But as a tackle, you're going to have a huge stagger. So one foot's going to be way behind the other. Your feet really do different jobs. And so do your hands, because you're pretty much always going to be blocking a guy who's outside of you. As a guard, you could be blocking a guy inside. You could be blocking a guy outside. And so they're a little bit more ambidextrous. But left tackle is much more specific. Right tackle is much more specific to that side. But still, 3 months, I think Dawand's going to have no problem being able to make that transition, because he's got a lot of time to be able to work on it. And I mean, they're practicing right now, and he's still got like 6 weeks of training camp. So it's no doubt in my mind he's going to be ready to take over that spot.
Cool.
Yeah, we thought he looked okay whenever he started those 3 games last year. So it was definitely encouraging to hear the Browns say, okay, we've kind of got him pegged for that role this season. But talking about just the offensive line overall, I mean, do you think as a group they're going to have a bounce back year? I mean, fans have kind of been dogging on the offensive line blocking this entire offseason. We hear it left and right, but how much of the line's performance last year was scheme related versus like their overall ability?
Well, I think some of it was scheme related, but a lot of times offensive line's performance is dependent upon the quarterback play, right? So if you got a quarterback that's where he's supposed to be, a la Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and they get rid of the ball on time, like your job becomes very easy, and you can kind of predict where you need to make sure your rusher goes and where he doesn't go to be able to win that rep. If you got a guy who's holding on to the ball, who's running around, doesn't exactly know what his reads are, doesn't know what his spot is supposed to be in the pocket, it becomes very difficult, because now you're playing into the defensive line's hands, right? Like their specialty is being athletic and being fast and having these ninja quick karate moves with their hands that they work on all off season. And so if you're playing into their hands and they're allowed to go wherever they want, and then you just have to stop them from going there, it becomes nearly impossible. And I think that was what was happening a lot last season. You know, they were playing in a system that was catered a little bit more towards Deshaun Watson, and the Browns offensive line, they didn't really know where Deshaun was supposed to be. It didn't seem like Deshaun knew exactly what the reads were going to be. He didn't exactly get the ball out on time. He wasn't where he's supposed to be in the pocket. And that makes it really hard on the offensive line. And pretty quickly you go from being a pretty good player that feels like you're, all pro level to you look like crap. And you're just not getting the job done, right? Because for the most part, even a trained eye doesn't exactly know where that quarterback is supposed to be on any given play. And they don't know exactly what the role of the offensive line is on any given play and how they fit within each other. And so an offensive line really is 5 fingers that, are working together as a fist, and everybody's kind of taking care of the blind spot of their person next to them. And then the quarterback has to fit into that. And so when that fit is not right, just everybody looks poor.
Yeah, that kind of echoes a lot of what we've heard from Kevin Stefanski this offseason through the pre-draft process was, we want a quarterback who's accurate, can play on time, play in rhythm, all that kind of stuff, on schedule, get the ball where it's supposed to be. So that really fits to what you're talking about and how it translates to the play of the offensive line.
You were just kind of talking about quarterback play and how it can affect the offensive line. You obviously are no stranger to quarterback competitions. You played for 157 quarterbacks in your career.
Exactly.
How do you feel about the QB situation as we're heading into the offseason? Obviously, we brought in Kenny Pickett, brought back Joe, and then drafted 2 rookies that just went through the rookie minicamp. Who do you think has the edge to be the day one starter? And then this is kind of off script from me. As a vet in the locker room, are you leaning Joe because of his experience and what he can give you? Or are you like, okay, let's roll with one of these young guys, their athleticism, they're the future? I guess, like, is your mindset different if you're a Joel Bitonio in the locker room, who's getting towards the end of his career?
I think all the offensive linemen are hoping, and I think they're expecting Joe Flacco to be the starter because, he's still got the arm, right? He's got that big, powerful arm. He may not have the legs that he used to have, not that he was ever a scrambler, but he's not going to get out and escape the rush and gain yards with his legs. But, he's playing in Kevin Stefanski's system for I don't know how many years now in his career. So he knows what he's supposed to be getting done, reading the ball down the field, reading the coverage, getting the ball out on time. He understands where he's supposed to be in the pocket. He's not going to have any communication issues on the line of scrimmage when they're re-IDing protections or the run game. And so it puts your mind at ease as an offensive lineman to be able to have a veteran back there that's just getting everything organized, right? You need that coach on the field because they're in charge of so much communication and decision-making from the time that the huddle is broke until the time is snapped. And you really want that guy who can be that calm, who can be that communicator, who can be that field general at quarterback. Otherwise, it puts a lot more on your plate. And a lot of times the coaches don't want to put a lot of that on the offensive line's plate because they want the quarterback to do it, because it's a lot harder for the O-line to communicate to the quarterback, to communicate to the running back, and then communicate to the pass catchers. It's a lot easier when the quarterback just communicates to everybody at once. And so for the most part, the quarterback's got to be that guy that dictates exactly what's going to happen up front. And I think with Joe Flacco, he gives you the best chance to win from day one, especially considering the offense that the Browns are going to be probably employing a little bit this year, which is that old school Kevin Stefanski under center, play action, outside zone, pin pull type run game. And I think that fits with a veteran quarterback like Joe Flacco. Now, that's not to say that one of these young guys could come in and wow everybody and blow them away. And throughout the course of the season, as those young guys get more experience and more reps and more opportunity to prove that they can be the dude, I think there's a chance that there is a quarterback change that does get made. But I think it's too early to say who else could be that leader in the clubhouse after Flacco really starts as that starter.
This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Guys, is your wedding band old, outdated, or just not the same taste you had when you were younger? Or hey, maybe you're about to get married, but you don't want to deal with the salespeople at the jewelry stores. Manly Bands has the best wedding bands made specifically for men. They have the classic timeless gold and white gold styles, but they also have rings made from platinum, black zirconium, tungsten, titanium, even materials like meteorite and dinosaur bone. Yes, your wedding ring could be made from a dinosaur fossil. That is a real thing. They also have different ring collections, like their Jack Daniels rings made from actual Jack Daniels whiskey barrels. They also have Lord of the Rings and DC Comics band collections. Head over to manlybands.com/dogs and take advantage of their 30% off sale with free shipping. Plus, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out for another 10% off your order. Now, every Manly Band comes with a free silicone ring, and if you don't know your ring size, that's okay. You can order a free ring size chart from Manly Bands to make sure that you know exactly the right size before you order. And then if you get your ring and it doesn't fit just right, you can always return it or exchange it without any hassle. And I know this because I like my rings to be a little more loose, and the first band that I got was just a little too snug for the way I like to wear it, so I exchanged it, and the whole process was quick, easy, and I had my new ring in no time. And now Manly Bands is even accessorizing men beyond just your wedding rings with their chain necklaces and chain bracelets made for men by men. And if you need groomsmen gifts or anything else, Manly Bands has you covered with their barware, whiskey glasses, flasks. They even have customized coasters and flight trays. So skip the jewelry stores, avoid the salespeople, and get a wedding band that was designed for you. Manlybands.com/dogs to get 30% off, free shipping, plus get an extra 10% off when you use code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out. So how do you feel then about the Browns using 2 draft picks to bring in quarterbacks? And, you know, there's so much hype and buzz right now around the 2 rookie quarterbacks, but I've still been trying to keep a level head and talk to some of our audience too about it. Like, it was a 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick. Historically, those are not great hit rates at the quarterback position for rookies. So do fans kind of need to temper expectations they had the rookie minicamp, they both look good, but now next time they're on the field, it's going to be with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett, 2 veterans. So it might not look quite as impressive.
Yeah, I think what you got to realize is in the draft, pretty much outside of the 2nd round, it's a crapshoot. I mean, I can't tell you how many 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks don't even make it out of training camp throughout my career. And so those guys, when you're selecting a pick in the 4th or the 5th, it's really not a player that you're going to count on. I mean, you're hoping they can be a starter, and, you hope that maybe they're Pro Bowl level someday, but it's not really a high probability of success. And when you consider the quarterback position and how important, I mean, really, it is the linchpin of success for an NFL team. You can't win without a great quarterback. It makes sense to roll the dice and take a quarterback late in the rounds, even if you have a lot of them, because the upside, if you do find your starting quarterback later in the draft, is so enormous, not only from, hey, we found our guy, but, hey, we don't have to pay him anything for the first 3-4 years of his career, and we're able to save money and put that into other parts of our team to try to build a winner. That's one of the big things that the NFL has tried to do here in the last 5 to 10 years is like, hey, we know that quarterbacks are worth it, first of all, but they're also getting paid twice what any other position on the field is getting paid. And so once you have to lock up that guy long-term with that huge franchise deal, it doesn't leave as much money for everybody else. So your best chances of winning and success throughout the playoffs for a good stretch is like having that quarterback on the rookie deal. And if they're able to find a guy like Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round, or even Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, like nobody's going to be complaining that they used 2 later round or mid-round draft choices on quarterbacks, even though they already had Flacco and Kenny Pickett on the roster.
No, I mean, it would change the entire outlook of like next pre-draft process in the offseason, because now we have 2 first-round picks in 2026. Do we have to use both of those potentially to move around in the 1st round to go get a quarterback we like? Or, hey, did we find our quarterback in 2025 and now we have 2 first-round picks we can trade for other assets, or we can use them on top, guys to put on the team around that quarterback? So you're right. I mean, if we can get a rookie quarterback to be the guy in the 3rd or 5th round, that's awesome for the team.
I think that was my big takeaway from the draft. They wanted to give themselves flexibility. They wanted to obviously draft some quality players, but not having a franchise quarterback on the roster, that's your highest priority. So giving yourself flexibility with those additional 1st-round picks or 1st and 2nd round picks next year gives you flexibility to go get a quarterback next year if you still feel like you need it. But if you find one this year, even better. Then you can use those picks to build out the roster around that quarterback and give him talent at pass catcher or maybe on the offensive line, or, maybe you add somebody on defense. So just having that flexibility, I think, is really important for any team that has yet to find that franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I keep hearing from people online, they say if you have 4 quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. And I'm like, every other position, there's 10 players competing for a job. Why is it bad if there's competition at the QB position? How do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like they're just throwing crap at a wall to see if something sticks? Or is it okay to have 4 guys competing in camp?
Yeah, I think it's all right. I mean, we don't have a quarterback, right? Wouldn't it be great if we had a franchise quarterback or somehow we traded for one, which never happens? I mean, we tried with Deshaun Watson. Obviously, that didn't work out. But really, you got to draft one. And most franchise quarterbacks are drafted in the first round, which is great. But the problem is if you draft a quarterback high in the first round, you're kind of committed to him for 3-4 years. And yeah, you don't have a quarterback competition, but you also don't really know what you have. And for the most part, it's about a 50% success rate on first round quarterbacks. So yeah, you could say, oh, well, we only have one clear starter right now. He was our first round draft choice, but until he really goes out and proves it on the field, you still don't have a quarterback. So the fact that we got 4 guys competing, I think that's okay, especially when you consider several of them are young guys. You kind of have that entrenched veteran with Joe Flacco. And I think that competition makes everybody better. But I think what you'll see is as we get closer to the season, 2 weeks out, I think they're going to make one of those guys, probably Flacco, the guy that's taken the majority of the first team reps. And then you're going to see some of those young guys still getting a little rotation with the first group. But 2 weeks out of the season, you're really getting ready for that opener, that first game of the year. And you want that veteran guy to be comfortable with his surroundings, to be comfortable in that offense. And the benefit of having a Joe Flacco is he is comfortable. He's not going to need as many reps as a 4th or 5th year guy to get himself ready for the season. So you have an opportunity to give some of these other guys meaningful reps with the first unit without having to wonder oh, is this really a competition? Everybody's going to know 2 weeks out of the season who's going to be that starter in week 1. And now you're just kind of stealing extra reps for those younger guys to be able to figure out, who's going to be the second quarterback, who's going to be the third. And then maybe, hey, if Shedeur or Dillon really shows that they're potentially going to be a really good backup in this league, or maybe even a starter, now you can start thinking about trading those other guys. But early on in camp, I think it's really, really okay, especially with the numbers you have. You got more than 80 guys on your roster. You're going to have no problem finding enough reps for all of those guys to get the work that they need to get themselves prepared and to show what they have to the entire organization.
Yeah. So I guess let's switch gears to the defensive side of the ball just real quick. Early on in the draft process, when all the buzz around pick 2 was, do they go with a quarterback or do they go like Abdul Carter? Everybody wanted Abdul Carter to put across or on the other side from Myles Garrett. But Blake was one of the first people I remember. He brought this up early in the process, but he argued that Mason Graham specifically would actually do more to help Myles Garrett and his effectiveness off the edge than Abdul Carter would, because, just that interior defensive presence. As a former offensive lineman yourself, though, what's your perspective of the Browns adding Mason Graham on the interior rather than an edge rusher like Abdul Carter?
Well, I think the problem with Abdul Carter is kind of twofold. One, not that he's not going to be a great pass rusher, but he's kind of a smaller guy. So I didn't really see him as an every down player to complement with Myles Garrett. But also, I don't care how good he's going to be. Myles Garrett is going to get the double teams. He's going to get the offensive line slides, which basically means if you're in a 4 down front and you've got Abdul Carter and another defensive tackle on that side, they're going to get the guard and the tackle one-on-one, basically. And then you're going to get the center and the guard and the left tackle sliding to Myles. So it's going to be a 2-on-3. And so it really doesn't matter who you have over there. So the more impactful position is the guy who's going to be right next to Myles, because having that defensive tackle, I think of Warren Sapp when he played down in Tampa Bay. And I'm trying to remember the name of the defensive end that he played with. But they used to do all sorts of games and twists and stunts. And that makes it really, really difficult for an offensive line, because now you have to set a little bit softer. You're a little bit further off the ball because you have to worry about where those pick games are coming from between Mason Graham and Myles Garrett. And I think that is much more difficult when you have that interior presence who's creating issues on the inside, because that means that now the guard is going to be slower to be able to help Myles, to be able to help block Myles in that situation. because you can't just leave your center one-on-one with Mason Graham and just have your guard fly out there, because he does cause problems from the inside. So without a doubt, having a dominant interior pass rusher, a dominant presence on the inside is going to help your defensive end pass rusher way more than if you have a dominant defensive end on the other side. Because, even if Abdul Carter does become a little bit bigger and stronger and that every down defensive end, like what is an offense going to do? They're just going to keep a tight end in and then double team him, and they're still going to slide to Miles. And then if Miles doesn't have an interior problem maker next to him, like the guard's just going to double him and he's going to get double teamed the whole game. And the center is going to be locked up on the defensive tackle. They'll keep a tight end on the other side. Yeah, they have a 6-man protection, but it's going to be sound, and Miles is not going to be able to get home consistently.
This is what I tried to tell the people, and I got called an idiot. So maybe they'll listen to you.
You're brilliant, man. Don't listen to the people. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
Never read the comments. First rule of the internet, right?
Yeah.
Actually, so we do have one question here from Justin, our other host, who wasn't able to make it. So I'll play that for you here now.
Joe, what's going on, brother? Hey, now that the draft and free agency have wrapped up, who are a couple of the new additions to the team that you're most excited about for this season?
And Justin usually has a little bit more energy and oomph about him, but I think that was a long shift of work the other day. He did that when he got home, and he looked dog tired in that video. But
he looked great to me. I love it. It takes a true Browns fan after a long 12-hour shift to still have that passion and that curiosity about, what's going to happen to my team, because that's the last thing I need to think about before I lay my head on this cold pillow and drift off into La La Land. So to answer his question, I'm really excited about Quinshon Judkins.
Oh, I'm glad you said that.
The running back from Ohio State, the power runner, the every down running back. My son was up on the stage with me in Green Bay for the draft, got to announce that pick, was very special for me, but I think he's the guy that we need. I know it was a little disappointing to kind of see the writing on the wall that Nick Chubb is probably not going to be on the team next year, but I think, sometimes it's tough in the NFL, but you have to be realistic about what you have and where your guys are. Even players that are as beloved as Nick Chubb, you need to replace him, and you need to find that guy who could be that Nick Chubb for the next 10 years. And I think that's a Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, so we did a live stream for the first round of the draft, and when they traded the pick and they took Mason Graham, we were a little bummed because we were just pushing offense all off season, and then it was more like we just didn't want a defensive player in the top 5 right away. But then if you would have told us we were taking Quinshon Judkins the next night, I'm happy.
Yeah, I just think our entire running game is going to be dynamic again between him and Sampson. So I'm excited for that. I'm pumped. Speaking of just kind of the draft and how pumped we are right now, this is a high time to be a Browns fan, post-draft before we get to the season. But it's kind of all hype right now. Once the dust settles, we get closer into the season, games actually start happening. What's realistic expectations for this team this year? Are we in rebuild mode, coming out the tail end of the Deshaun contract, or did we nail the draft and it was just a short retool and we're still competing for the playoffs?
Yeah, I think playoffs are a definite real possibility. I think you saw what Flacco could do with this offense and with that defense behind him a couple of years ago. And I see no reason why we can't win 10 games and get into the playoffs and then maybe make some noise if we're hot. We have every right to think that we could have the best defense in the NFL. We didn't have it last year because of a lot of issues and some injuries. But I think with Myles Garrett there and with the secondary that we have and the addition of Carson Swessinger on the inside there, I think we can really get back to being that number 1 overall defense in the NFL, create a lot of problems, start creating a bunch of turnovers. And with an offense with Flacco, who's hopefully not going to make a whole lot of mistakes, that can run the football, that can hit people with big gashes in the play action game. We're not going to go undefeated. We're probably not going to be the leaders in the clubhouse because we don't have that really, marquee franchise quarterback. But we definitely have all the pieces to be really competitive in every game. And there's no doubt in my mind that I think a successful season means making it into the playoffs.
I mean, we felt like the defense wasn't that bad last year. It was just they could hold their own for maybe the first half or so, but the offense was so historically bad and inefficient that by the end of the game, there was no chance. I mean, we averaged 15 points a game on offense or something.
So, and some of that's inflated by a couple of good Jameis games.
Yeah, the Jameis games really put that over the mark. So, Yeah, I think with just an efficient offense, like you said, just as long as we have a quarterback who can run it and a running back that can get us 3-4 yards at minimum, like that's going to make the defense so much better.
Yeah, you can't keep putting your defense in tough positions all game and expect that they're just going to be supermen. Like those dudes get tired too, and the other offense, they get paid as well. So I think as long as you're holding on to the football, you're not doing crazy, stupid stuff with the ball, you're converting a few third downs, like the defense is going to be back to that top flight defense that we've known from years past.
I think you mentioned Schlesinger and Graham. Like we added the best defensive tackle and probably the best interior linebacker in the draft. That's going to help your defense a ton.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, those guys are really important, and obviously not great news with JOK, but hopefully able to replace him with super talented and athletic Carson Schlesinger. And like you said, I think you have a dominant defensive line. You got great linebackers that can run, safeties that can do the same, corners that can cover. Like, I don't see any issues with this defense right now.
Well, that's all great stuff about the Browns. We appreciate you coming on here and talking about the upcoming season. But I did have one last thing I wanted to ask you about, and it's what are you doing right now? I've been hearing about this beef farm. You want to talk a little bit just about that? So people know what you're up
awesome.
to?
So I got my poncho.
I've been looking, yeah.
Yeah, Hall of Fame beef logo, Six Rings Farms. That's my family farm out here. We're raising Wagyu and Angus beef from birth until the refrigerated truck backs up and takes them to heaven and turns them into delicious, mouth-watering steaks brought right to your door by your friendly UPS, FedEx, or USPS man. So I'm really excited about this because this is a project that is really a passion project that has kind of grown out of just raising beef for my family and my friends to having an opportunity after I was encouraged by a big-time chef out in Wisconsin, like, hey, this stuff is the best stuff that I look at. You really need to make this available to the general public. And so we're doing things way different than most people in the cattle industry. You know, most people in the cattle industry kind of specialize in one part of the life of a cow or a steer. And for us, we've spent a ton of money and ton of research building the best genetics possible for marbling. And we're raising our animals on pasture. We finish them with a little bit of grain, which kind of gives you that perfect blend of the health benefits of grass-fed beef with the marbling and that mouth-watery butteriness that you get with an animal that's been finished with a little bit of grain. We raise all of the food that we feed our animals right here on the farm. And so we think that we're probably providing the best beef on planet Earth as far as taste, mouthfeel, but then also the nutrition profile with how we've cared for them in a low stress environment with the pastures that we put them on the banks of the Blue River. So we really stumbled into something special, and I'm so excited that I get to share it with all of the country.
Man, I'm going to get some because told me when you said the banks of the Blue River, I was like, is like I'm on reading a Western. I will say we've interviewed some people on this show. You have by far the manliest background of anybody that we've ever interviewed on this show. So that's awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm out at the farm this morning, was doing some chores and going to head back out into the field and start working on stuff. Thankfully, we just got through planting season and we just put our cows back out on the pasture. Like you mentioned, the banks of the Blue River. So the workload is reducing slightly from where it was in the last couple of weeks. But if you go to sixspringsfarms.com, that's our website. You can check it out. We make some incredible beef products from our smoked products. And then also we've got those steaks, like I mentioned, that we can deliver right to your door.
That's awesome. Definitely going to have to check that out. We appreciate you coming in here, talking with us for a little bit. We'll get you out of here so you can get back to work. But again, if you guys are interested in the London trip for the Browns game against the Vikings on October 5th with Joe Thomas, it is biggametravel.com. Head over there, check out the packages. And I would not miss that opportunity for sure.
Hey guys, I really appreciate you having me on. It was a fun conversation, and I'm getting excited for that Browns season now. Right? I can't wait. It's been too long. I'm tired of talking about free agency and draft. Let's talk about these dudes out on the field smashing some Steelers skulls.
Amen.
Yes. Again, we want to thank Joe Thomas for joining us on the Dawgs podcast today. First and probably only Hall of Famer we'll ever have on the program, and that's okay with us because it's the Hoff, it's Joe Thomas. We were at his Hall of Fame induction a few years ago, and then we got to have him on the program. It's like a pinch me moment. I definitely,
for real.
If you would have told me 5 years ago when you texted me and said, do you want to start a Browns podcast, that we'd fast forward 5 years later and be interviewing Joe Thomas, I would have said, you're out of your mind. But here we are, and we did it, and it's on video, so nobody can take that away from us. So again, thank you to Joe for coming on. Make sure you guys go check out his beef website where he's selling all like the top quality beef products that he's put a lot of passion into, a lot of money into to give us good quality food. It's sixspringsfarms.com. Make sure you guys check that out. And again, just huge shout out to Joe for taking his time out and coming to join us.
Absolutely. And again, we just want to thank Big Game Travel for putting together such this, incredible opportunity for Browns fans to head over to London this season. Head over to biggametravel.com. Check out their 6-night and their 4-night round trip packages to go over to London for the Browns versus Vikings game. And then the whole thing includes like airfare, airport transfers, hotel accommodations. You get a daily English breakfast while you're there. Transfer to and from the stadium on game day, sightseeing tours of London. You get to check out St. Paul's Cathedral, the Parliament, the Tower of London, and the Big Ben that we actually don't hate. You get to take a tour of Windsor Castle, where the Royals live. Plus, you get all-day tailgate party, like I mentioned, when the Browns take on the Vikings on October 5th. And as we covered, Hall of Famer Joe Thomas will be there exclusively for it all with you guys if you sign up. So that's biggametravel.com.
Again, thank you to Joe. We appreciate everything. Make sure you guys go check out this travel package. It's going to be a great time. And like Joe said in his interview, it's going to be intimate. You're going to leave there being like, me and Joe Thomas are tight as shit. So make sure you guys go check that out. And we'll see you guys sometime next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.
This episode is brought to you by Danger Coffee. Browns fans, we talk about how Danger Coffee is made free from mold toxins that are in 45% of the world's coffee, but that's not all that Danger Coffee has to offer. Mineral and nutrient deficiencies are a big deal. They make you feel sick, tired, stressed, and they can give you brain fog. These deficiencies negatively affect your immune system, your digestion, sleep, metabolism. Have you ever wondered why you get an initial burst from your coffee, but then you get that little crash not long after? Danger Coffee's patent-pending process remineralizes your body with more than 50 trace minerals and electrolytes, leaving you more energized, engaged, powerful. These micronutrients enter the cells to boost performance. They bind to toxins to provide detoxification support. I know that sounds like a lot, but the bottom line, guys, is minerals matter, and most of us really don't get enough of them on a daily basis. Danger Coffee delivers micronutrients, plus it gives you access to the minerals you already have. Head to dangercoffee.com, use our code DAWGS, D-A-W-G-S, for 10% off your order. And that code can be used over and over. So you get 10% off every order you make using code DAWGS. It's time to start every day off with a cup of coffee that gets you going and actually keeps you going. dangercoffee.com.